Well, hey everybody, this is Jackson at Celebration Bar Review, and welcome to this week's edition of Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Students. And today we're starting our hangout with at least one panel member. We've got a few others that we hope are going to be able to find their way online with us. But I've got with us Juan Mendoza, and let's see, we'll pop him up here, and you can say hi to everybody. Yeah, there you go. Your story is really an interesting one, and I think it's going to be one that people will like to hear about. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been happening with you and bar exams and what you've done over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so my story is I graduated from law school in May. I went to Emory Law in Atlanta, and I took the Florida bar in July 2014. But I started doing a clerkship for a judge in the Northern District of Texas starting August 2014. So unfortunately, I didn't have the Texas bar, and my thoughts at the time, I was dating someone, and the idea was that I'll get back to Georgia for to look for jobs afterwards. So so I took the Georgia bar exam, and that's when I spoke with Jackson, to help me get ready for that exam. And the interesting twist to this is that, I followed the studying path, set out by Jackson and, did all the conference calls. My ex and I, we ended up breaking up with me a day before the bar exam. And
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? Oh, that's terrible.
Kind of an interesting situation. And,
Yeah.
And whatever, I took the bar exam and I ended up passing. So that was that. And
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the passing. That's a good thing. I'm excited about that. And hey, Noelle, I see you've joined us. You're here. We've got a second member of our panel, and Juan's talking, and we'll get to you in just a second. But glad you're with us. So your girlfriend breaks up with you. Let me make sure I get this right. The scenario: you're ready to take the bar exam. It's like the day before the test.
I took it on Tuesday. And we broke up she broke up with me on Sunday.
Whoa, that's harsh. That's harsh, man.
It was pretty cruel, I think, especially because she's a law student. So she's
wow. Yeah.
Well, so, it was like, if anyone should have known how important it was.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your mindset going into the exam?
Well, first of all, you kind of have that. Obviously, you're super stressed out with the bar exam, and that's the number one thing in my mind. And then, I kind of knew things weren't going anywhere, but I wasn't gonna make any drastic decision before taking the bar exam. So it was one of those things where you're just very nervous, very you can't sleep. I could barely sleep the night before. A couple of things that helped was knowing that I prepped for a little while, not for a little while, for more than a couple months, and at least I knew at that point there was really nothing else new for me to learn. It was just, just try to stay calm, take the exam, move on, And, it was really hard to get any sleep the night before because, you have all these feelings, I guess, in your head. And, the day of the exam comes in and you just kind of let the adrenaline take over and just go with it.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Well, yeah, we'll hear more about that. So, hey, Noelle, good to see you. Thank you. Thanks
good to see you.
Yeah. Thanks for being up early in California. Noelle is a successful California bar taker, and by way of full disclosure, also does some editorial work for us. So kind of a twofer here to be able to talk about that part of it. So I don't know if you heard what Juan was saying about his girlfriend leaving him right before the bar exam.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you have any similar stories of woe and pain before the bar?
No, actually, I don't. I actually have a very supportive, wonderful husband, and actually the first time around when I did take it and did not pass, I took it pregnant. And that was before they were giving accommodations.
Yeah.
And let me take it from a hotel room, so I had to take it with the crowd. And that was not very smart. It was not very easy, and I'm sure that attributed to not passing.
Yeah, I imagine that would make a difference. But you kind of picked yourself back up, came back, and post baby, took the exam again. What was it
Yes.
like getting yourself mentally ready to take the exam a second time?
Well, I found you,
Yeah.
and so that helped a lot.
Who knew?
At the time, my baby was 14, so I waited quite a while.
Yeah.
He's now senior in high school.
How amazing is that? And so for 14 years, you didn't take the bar. And what was your thought about that? I mean, coming back to take it after that many years off, what did you think?
Well, I still worked in the legal environment, so I think that helped. But it was just kind of diving back in and hoping for the best and getting a full review of everything. And lucky for me, the materials are just great. They cover everything you need to know. I mean, not that law school, I don't know, I felt here in California, doesn't really prepare you for the California bar.
Yeah.
And the part that does is the very first year. And here, the Socratic method is just not how you take the bar. So bar prep is what really preps you for the bar, not law school.
Right.
Working full-time kind of changes the dynamic of how much free time I have to study and prep for this, so I'll get back from work. My judge was really nice, and I usually used to leave like 6:30, but now I was leaving like 5 on the dot, or a little bit after 5, and I'll come home. I got a puppy, so I'll hang out with my puppy for a little while, and
right.
Start studying like at least a couple hours a night.
Okay, so you were studying every day for a couple hours. Yeah.
And, on the weekends I'll try to study a little longer. The first couple 2 to 3 weeks. So my test was February 24th. I started studying seriously. I did like a couple weeks like in November, but I started getting serious like just once I got back from Christmas, I guess. So around end of December, so 2 months towards that. And it was like every day for 2 hours, and the weekends was at least 6 to 7 hours every day, and on Saturday and Sunday, and up to 10 hours on the weekend. But so I loaded it up on the weekend a lot. And my biggest thing was like, well, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. And if I fail, at least it won't be because I didn't try hard. Because that was my biggest fear, that I'll underestimate it and it will kind of like get back to me and bite me back in the butt, So
yeah.
But it was fine.
Yeah. What would we had a question from a potential student, and they wanted to know what would a daily or a weekly study schedule look like for you? And I think you kind of talked about that. It was a couple hours at night and then heavy weekends. Is that right?
Yeah. And it also depends. Like if you're a first-time test taker, and you got to understand that. Like I took it also in July, so when I took it right out of law school, I graduated on May 12th. And then I took it on end of July, so I started bar prep like a week after. So I started bar prep like May 20th or something, and that was pretty intensive. It was at least 8 hours a day,
Right.
And so if it's your first time, you need to really take a lot of time to do it. And if it's your second time and you feel more comfortable with the material, obviously it's easier. Like you just need to get a feel for it yourself, I guess. But
okay, good. Let me Juan, let me come back to you. So that scheduling then for you was pretty important to have a routine that you were following day after day, right?
Yeah. To be honest with you, one thing I learned from my first bar exam was that if I didn't get serious about it, I like in law school you can get away with procrastinating, and so can college and stuff. This isn't so much about how smart you are taking the bar exam, so much as you need to be this smart, or you also has to be this score, GPA had to be this score. No, this is more about you need to put in the time, because you have certain things you need to learn, and it's either if you don't put in the time, you're not going to learn them. So it had to. I understood from the past bar exam that it had to be done, otherwise it was likely that, or it was less likely that you will pass. So I kind of got pretty serious about it. it sucked, but it was.
Yeah, I remember you telling me a lot about how much it sucked. Yeah, that comes back to me pretty clearly. Somebody else asked me about you have to have this intense mental preparation time, and they said, I'm trying to read the question. They said, we compress that mental prep time into a few short weeks or months. What mental exercises or process enabled you to have success? Any thoughts about that? What?
Frankly, one thing I don't know. I don't think I've done any per se mental exercises or processes. But what I did do, my mindset, I think it's important to have the right mindset, and it's you're gonna put in this amount of time, and you're gonna put in all this work, all these hours. When you count them up, it's gonna be over who knows how many. But at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself and have a little bit of confidence. When I took the Florida bar, I had a lot less confidence because it was my first time taking it. And I was just like, oh my god, and I ended up doing really well. But it was because I put in all this time. To have some confidence that the work you're doing and the program you're following is going to work out, and I think once you have the right mindset, things just tend to work themselves out.
Good. Noelle, you got us now? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're back. Oh, good. And we've moved indoors.
Yeah, a little bit of a change of scenery. I thought maybe would speed everything up.
Good. Thanks. Well, we were talking about the mental process of trying to sort of compress all that material into a short period of time. What was that mental process like for you? How did you get yourself focused to study for that period of time?
Well, up until about a month before the bar, I was working, and so I would spend, compartmentalize time for studying, and I just, made it me time. It was just very important. And I heard Juan mention a puppy. Well, I got my husband a puppy because that way he had something to do, someone to pay attention to, and he would leave me alone. So I could study for the bar.
There's a strategy. I'd never thought of that one before, so that's good. Okay.
So he would have a companion, someone to keep his time and attention.
Oh, I love that.
But and I just, when I would find myself getting anxious, I would just put the material down and just take a moment, maybe get a cup of tea or coffee, and just take a break for a moment, spend some time with my dog. And you just got to remember, just get back to it, and you just kind of make it like a routine. I like things very organized, and so just making it very ritualized for me was a way to keep it so that my stress level didn't increase. Mm-hmm. And doing the exercises of just kind of a little bit of meditative items, and not putting too much pressure on yourself, kind of like Juan was saying. You just do your best. There's a lot to it, and a lot of people get through it. So
right.
You just
fewer and fewer in most of these jurisdictions, which is why you guys are kind of superstars. They're the pass rate in Florida was a whopping 35%, and Georgia was 60%. It's a pretty tough world out there. I asked some of my either current students or potential students to send some questions for these Hangouts, and got some interesting questions. I've asked a couple, but I wanted to here's a good one that I thought. It said, how do you keep moving forward even when you failed previously? And you're studying the same material. This person said, how do you keep the sense of defeat and frustration at bay in order to take the test again and finally pass? You have some thoughts about that, Noelle?
It's real important to me. You just got to keep your eye on the prize and that gold ring. I visualize it for me as the merry-go-round and keeping your eye on that gold ring. It's really important to you. So sometimes you just have to just do what it takes. Sometimes the ends justify the means. Sometimes it may seem repetitive, but it's not you necessarily. It's the takers. There is a reason they don't let everybody pass the bar. Can you imagine how many attorneys and how bad all the statutes would become like California in every state?
Yeah.
If we had that many lawyers.
Yeah, that's a pretty scary thought, isn't it? So, Juan, you have any thoughts about how as you were going through the process? I mean, you'd had nothing but successes, but I know that there were moments when you were, I think, a little discouraged, and feeling a little overwhelmed. You were clerking, you were studying, you were, trying to get everything done. How'd you deal with that?
Well, as I mentioned, the July bar was a lot different because, everyone, when they graduate law school, you have those 2-3 months, and that's all you do, right? But for Georgia bar, I think having someone to talk to, at least, like it was especially tough for me because I just moved to a new city for my clerkship, and I didn't know anyone, but I didn't have an opportunity to meet people because I was always working and then coming back to study, and then even the weekends I had to study, and then when I wasn't studying, I was too tired to do anything. And then I got my puppy, and it kind of forces you it forced me at least to leave the apartment a lot, and to walk home, to take him for a run. So that was actually the best thing that happened to me in terms of keeping me normal, I guess.
So what I'm hearing from both of you is get a dog.
Yeah, probably.
This is not what I expected to be the advice, but we're going to subtitle this episode "Get a Dog." Okay.
Just have a lot of people have talk to your parents. Like I'll talk to my parents a lot, and sometimes, and by then I had a girlfriend, so we'll talk a lot about it. And there are times that I don't even want to talk to anyone. It's just like I have nothing to say to anything or anyone. It kind of affects everything. It affects your personal life. It like. You're just grumpy. I was grumpy all the time.
Yeah, Noelle, you're a pretty happy, upbeat person. Did you find yourself having to deal with irritability and being grumpy like Juan's talking about?
I don't know if it's grumpy per se, but I do relate with Juan when he says you become very solace. And David says I did get grumpy. My husband did. He's nodding to the grumpy part. He says, yes, I did get grumpy. So I guess when you just become, you sleep, drink, and eat the bar. And so, I mean, even when you're not studying, you're thinking about it. Like I did, I repainted my kitchen cabinets while I was studying because painting for me is it's very meditative. So I would take thoughts, different chunks of the information, and then I would meditate on that chunk and paint and then think about it. And so when somebody would bug you or say something to you, you're like, leave me alone, I'm trying to really think about this, but you just kind of wanted to be, like Juan said, you really don't have time for anything else. Every aspect of your life is the bar. I mean, you're sitting and eating and you've got your notes or you're working on multiple choice. You don't want to watch TV because and you also feel like if you take relaxation moments that are too long, like say go to the movies, not just a break per se, that you may be taking too much time away from that goal.
Let's talk a little bit about this balance because you were working in your job with the government. Juan was clerking, and you'd been out of law school for a number of years, 14, 15 years. Juan was just out of school a year or so. The balance between study and work and life is a really tough one during the bar exam for most people. Did you find yourself having to kind of recalibrate as you went through, either of you, through the process to say, wait a minute, I may be doing too much in studying or not enough studying or too much at work or something else? Was that a process or something you went through?
Yeah, I think it was a process I looked, because of the timing, I could plan further out. So I started studying smaller and then I started studying bigger, and I kind of could give everybody a heads up as it got closer. And so my son kind of knew that I was going into hibernation. And my husband was very understanding, and like I said, I got him the puppy to give him a distraction. But yeah, it does. The closer it gets, I say like the 3 months just before, it becomes harder. And your friends very few, if any, understand when they're, especially I have a very large social group with my, as you know, Jackson, my my cosplay that I do, and they don't understand at all when you're saying, "Oh no, I can't come out to play," and I need to study, and they're like, "Well, it's just an afternoon," and you're like, in your head, you're going, "That's a lot of information. You know, that could be, I could get wills done in the afternoon, in an afternoon." You know, and so, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's a big one. It's a big one. How about for you, Juan?
Well, yeah, I totally agree. For me, I started off not studying much. Oh, the first couple weeks, I had a couple weeks in November where I started studying like that, but then I was like, well, the exam is so far away, so I kind of put it on hold after that until I got back from break. By break, I mean until after New Year's, so like January 2nd, 3rd, that weekend, I started studying like full time again, like 2 hours a night, and then weekends I'll like load it up with studying time. But yeah, it's true. It was, what I realized was I was doing all study, get back from home, take my puppy out, come back, study. But I realized that when you do that, it's not really that helpful. You need to do something that you enjoy or something. So what I would do is, like, I'll come back, I'll walk my puppy for a while, I'll play with him, and then I'll cook some dinner or something, and I'll watch a TV show or something like that on Netflix or what have you, and then I'll study from like 8 or 8:30 to like 11 or 11:30 or something, and that time at least kind of helped me, like, at least take my mind off stuff, and just kind of like take a break per se. And I thought that was more helpful to do than just coming in back eating and studying and just because at least my job, a lot of it is I write a lot of memos and to my judge, and basically it's like we just basically do issues. So it's like it's like I'm like tired. I'm like a little tired by the end of it, and coming back and studying for the bar is like I'm exhausted by that night. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, like it's never ending, and a week before the bar I was like, oh my god, I wish I could take it right now, or like 2 weeks before I was like, I'll take it right now if I have to, like as long as I don't have to do it anymore, Yeah,
I actually remember that conversation with you, Juan, where you were like, I really want to take the exam right now. I mean, you were very, very adamant about that. That was
because I just didn't want to keep going, it's just like, but I figured that doing something for yourself every day, like watching TV or something while you eat, or I don't know, was a lot more helpful for me, per se, at least, than just reading, eating, sleeping bar. And work was a big distraction because I couldn't afford to think about the bar or work because otherwise I wasn't getting work done. But
yeah,
you had that experience too, Noelle.
Yeah, you can't. But I did find, like, he reminded me that when it comes down to it, when you're like, I can't study anymore, I would say, okay, if I study for the next 2 hours this section, I will reward myself by letting myself watch a half hour, or, well, actually 20 minutes or whatever, because you skip all the commercials of my favorite show that's been, DVR'd or whatever, and or give myself a break of a reward, some kind of reward of spending time doing this. If on those times when you find I just can't study anymore, so you just motivate yourself that way by offering yourself that.
Yeah, I think what I hear both of you saying is that having that balance and having some rewards, knowing when to stop in a particular study session is pretty critical in all of this. I mean, right now as we're recording, we're about 65 days away from the next bar exam. If you can kind of think back in time to when you were a couple months out before the exam, if you could go back and change what you were thinking or doing, and obviously you were successful, both of you, so you did not a lot to change. But would you do anything differently 2 months out from the exam, now that you've had some experience with all this? That's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just realized that's a terrible question. I don't know. What would I do differently?
Well, I guess it's hindsight's 20/20. For me, like I guess I'll take care of like other issues beforehand and handle them better. Like for me personally wise, I told you like I had like a relationship disaster in a sense, but things weren't working out, and I guess I should have made some decisions beforehand that would allow me to just focus on the bar. But at the same time, like life doesn't wait for you in a sense, and you kind of just have to go with it in a way. But no, I guess I think this is the hardest thing to do, is like not get too caught up emotionally in it. And it's easy for me to say it now that I've taken it and they've taken two, but you know, it's you know, obviously, I'm sure I was just telling Jackson, I clerked for a judge in Texas, so now I'm thinking of staying in Texas because I really like Texas. so I'll have probably.
They're better for you.
So you know, like, you know, for all I know is I'll probably pick out over the next one as much. I'll probably die. But I guess it's don't underestimate. You could. I guess my point is, like, don't let the fact that you could always do more overwhelm you from you know, from the path or whatever schedule you set yourself out. Because if you took the time to set a schedule out to cover each topic and to review it, then you should be fine, you know. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Noelle, you got any thoughts about the 60 days before the exam? Anything that comes to mind for you? Or is it,
just make sure you get me time.
Yeah.
Don't forget about yourself in the whole equation. I mean, you are doing this for you.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. You know, kind of remember what you're doing it for. Well, let me wrap up with one question I really love asking people because it tends to evoke some thoughts. What was it like when you got your results? What was that moment like? How did it feel? What happened? How did you find out your results? What was that all about? Either of you want to share that? I'm seeing some smiles.
I mean, I mean, well, for me, it was so mine came out, at least the Georgia one did, Friday the 22nd, and I remember I was actually interviewing for a firm in Miami, and I was actually talking to one of the partners was asking me, hey, so you have the Georgia, when did you get your results? And I was like, actually, I'm getting them today. he was like, oh, let's check, and I was like, my face turned pale. Obviously, you probably noticed that he's like, no, I'm just kidding. And obviously, right after like that whole series of things, I'm like in my car right afterwards, and I check and I look at the email and it says congratulations, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't even care about the score. And for me, the feeling was one of relief, right? Like,
yeah.
Relief is probably the biggest thing for me. Like, oh my god, I don't have to do this again, or you know, at least it was worth it, type thing, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's good. Yeah, that would be a very cruel interview. Hey, let's check your bar results.
Yeah. He was kidding, thank God. But like, it was one of those things that I was like, really?
Wow. Noelle, what was it like for you? Do you remember when you got your results?
Well, I was already working for the state, and it basically just gives me a higher pay grade. So now I can say, oh, that's in my pay grade. It just gives you, yeah, like Juan said, it's a relief of not having to do it again, not having to sit in that room for 3 days.
Right.
3 long days, and take that big chunk out of your life to study for it again.
Yeah.
So
that's a big thing. That's a big thing to know that it's over. Well, is there any other thoughts or advice that you'd like to offer people that are watching? You know, most of the people that are watching these broadcasts are folks who are either taking the exam or or thinking of taking the exam. Anything that you would tell them as they're in that process of thinking about either courses or studies or the exam itself?
You can do it, and Jackson can help you do it. Yes.
Okay, well, that's nice. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
No, I totally agree, Jackson. Jackson's great. You know, I was the fact that he's available 24/7, and you know, you can reach out to him and you can lay out plans with him, and he helps you plan this stuff. It's a good way. I tweak my Jackson can probably tell you this, but I tweak my preparation a little bit. To better fit my schedule and like my needs and the way I learned, and he was pretty helpful in doing that and helping me do that. And I think the advice that I would give to everyone is just like, you know, just have confidence, and that the work you put in will be repaid, and have a little bit of self-confidence. And I know it's really hard for me it's really easy for me to say it now, because when I was doing it, I was like, oh my God, I'm probably gonna fail. But just believe in yourself, and you'll be fine.
That's great. Well, listen, I'm so appreciative to both of you for coming on and spending some time today and sharing your insights and your thoughts. Congratulations to both of you. You know, I think anyone that passes the bar anywhere right now is accomplishing a great deal. The last few years have been just brutal in terms of bar passage rates across the country. And I think it's a real accomplishment for everybody that passes and gets through it. And you both did it with grace and with a lot of skill, and it's been fun. Noelle, I have a blast working with you on staff, so that's been fun. And Juan, I'm looking forward to you taking the Texas bar so that we get to do this again. I'm sure you are too. But hey, we're really appreciative that you were here and part of this, and it's been great to do this broadcast. So thanks to you and the audience, and thanks for your questions. And we'll be back again next week doing another one of these with some other folks. But thanks so much to everybody, and have a great weekend. And congratulations to both of you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jackson.
Okay.